Shout out to Cats Pawd.
A big defensive play for Montana State.
Touchdown, Tommy Milan is electrifying.
Welcome to the Cats Pod. What's up, Podcats? Here we go, another week 2 of this NCAA FCS season. How you feeling, Eric?
I'm feeling great, man. 2-0. What's not to love?
Yeah, everything's going pretty well right now. I don't think there's anything. I mean, we always nitpick a couple little things, but there's really nothing to complain about right now. We have a great slate of games this week, it looks like. There's actually some interesting matchups going on. Not all of them look like they're going to be blowouts. So it could be a pretty interesting week to watch just in general.
Yeah. No, I agree. It looks super fun. I mean, the whole slate looks pretty good, honestly. Yeah. I mean, there's gonna be a blowout for sure. We'll get to that when we make our picks.
And even a little bit of a teaser. There's a conference matchup this week as well that we get to talk about. Yeah. So that'll be interesting to watch. That'll be a good one to get some eyes on it.
Yeah. Well, should we get going on this week's slate of games?
Sure. Sounds good.
So first we have Idaho at Wyoming.
The 1:30 kickoff game, Idaho and Wyoming. I didn't know this game was happening, and when it came up, when we pulled up ESPN, I was thoroughly surprised that Idaho is playing back-to-back FBS schools.
Honestly, I was too. I mean, kudos to them for wanting a good test. I mean, they already have some pretty major injury concern. Their quarterback had collarbone surgery and is going to be out for an extended period of time.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like there's a good chance he's going to miss the Bobcat game. So they're going to be rolling with a backup quarterback against Wyoming and Huron for a while. So I think, I mean, the guy was a starter for a reason, so it's hard to believe the backup is as good.
Yeah.
But that Idaho defense is legit.
Mm-hmm. They played better than we thought they would against Oregon, right? If I remember correctly. They kept that game pretty close, and their defense played really good football. So, I mean, I haven't heard anything about Wyoming players since Jared Allen. So it's been a while.
Sean Chambers?
Okay, Sean Chambers. Sorry, my bad. But he did his best work after he left Wyoming. Okay, let's be real.
Very true. Very true. I mean, this could be your upset alert here. I mean, it would not shock me to see Idaho go in and win a really low-scoring close game with Wyoming. But I mean, it's with a backup quarterback. I just don't know that they can score the points. I mean, they have 1 week to put together a new offense for a new quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean, I think for me, I'm gonna have to stick with the FBS and go with Wyoming on that one.
Yeah, I think Wyoming will definitely pull it off, especially with the injury to the quarterback. But we could see some scrap, just like you said, with that Idaho team. But, yeah, I also would go with the Cowboys on that one for sure.
Yeah, next we have – Ben, you're going to have to tell me what that – I don't even know what that school is playing Idaho State.
Western Oregon.
Oh, is that a NAIA school?
I don't know. I think it is. I know Western Oregon and Eastern Oregon are in there. Let's see if I go to the Gamecast if I can get some more information on these guys. You know, there is one thing that you can say that is a positive for them, and that is that they do have a logo on ESPN. Yeah. They're not Lincoln, California.
Yeah, they're not a glorified high school team.
No, they're not.
Maybe. I mean, we're not sure on that, but we watched Idaho State kind of hang with Oregon State for at least half.
Yeah.
I feel like Idaho State's going to put up some points.
Just looking at the last 5 for both these teams. 5 losses for Idaho State. None of them. I mean, they had a one-score loss to UC Davis at the end of last year. Lost to Idaho 63-21. Lost to Oregon State 38-15. But then you look at the Western Oregon side, and they have 5 straight losses against not a single team that I would know who they are.
Yeah.
So I don't think
it's safe
this
to
is much
say-
of one.
I think it's safe to say that Idaho State's going to get that elusive dub.
Going with the Bengals on this one for sure. They're playing. I don't know any of these teams. I don't even want to click on them because I don't want to spend the time to figure out who they are.
No.
But
It's not
honestly,
worth
through
it.
the first half, Idaho State looked pretty good against Oklahoma State. I mean, when you're not playing against the top running back in the country,
Against
arguably
Oregon State.
against Oregon State.
Yeah.
Oh, Oregon. Yeah. I got them confused. My bad. Against Oregon State, they played pretty well.
Yeah.
Held it pretty close for the first half, just like all the other games. Got blown away in the second half. Yeah, we didn't watch a whole lot of that game. Who played against Oklahoma State? I'm thinking of.
South Dakota State.
Oh, South Dakota State did, of course. All right. It's been a long week already, apparently. Been a long week already. What's
Well,
the next
just think
game we got
we're-
up on this?
We got our least favorite team in the Big Sky
Yeah.
going up against UND.
This is an exciting game to watch. I'm looking forward to this game.
It is. And I'm here to tell you the North Dakota defense is better. I mean, we said it on the last episode. North Dakota, I trash talked them a lot, and they came out and, they lost,
Mm-hmm.
but not by a ton
Yeah.
to a Power 4 school that isn't that bad.
Yeah.
I mean, I think everybody knows that I went to Iowa State, big Iowa State fan. That is a frisky Iowa State team with multiple NFL prospects on it.
Yeah.
I mean, their tight end is a legit NFL prospect for sure. Their quarterback is really, really good. I mean, they're a very well coached team, and they could only put up 21 points on North Dakota's defense.
Mm-hmm.
If you would have told me that was the final score before the game, I'd have laughed at you.
Yeah.
So Montana better not be thinking these guys are, better not take them light, because everybody knows it's hard to play in that dome.
Yeah. The first big question is which quarterback's going to start in this game. Are we going to
Dude.
see the Fife or are we going to see the Ayat?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like Fife was probably the better quarterback in their last game.
Yeah.
But I feel like if Ayat's your guy for the future, maybe it's time to just let him go.
I don't know if he's their guy for the future anymore. Like, we've been hearing that he was the future for the last 2 years, and it seems like every opportunity they have where they can put him on the field, they just pull him off, or it's garbage time in the championship game.
That's literally all we've ever seen of him.
Yeah.
Garbage time, and they pulled him at halftime. They didn't even give him a chance.
This is the big difference between, like, fans' perspective of the team versus what the team is actually doing.
Yeah.
I feel like, because the fan perspective, at least everything that we've heard from all the fans that we talk to that are fans of the Grizz, they have been all about Ayat. He's a legacy. They want him on the field, but apparently the coaching staff and the team thinks otherwise.
Honestly, if it was me, I would I would want to see him for a
Mhm.
full game, get into a rhythm, see if it's possible, and go with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like if they don't do that, North Dakota's defense could eat their lunch. I mean, their defense is legitimate.
Oh, yeah. They could have a really hard time against this North Dakota squad, and I think this is going to be big to show what the Grizz really are this year. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't want to fall in that trap again. I keep falling into the same trap, Eric. Every time I watch the Grizzlies in August and September, and I think that they are not going to be good at all. And then 2 months later, all of a sudden, they're like one of the best teams in the country. So I should not fall in that trap again, but I'm fully going to fall in that trap again and say North Dakota wins this game.
I mean, I do think this is going to be a really, kind of a dogfight game, probably a really close game, and I would doubt it gets very high scoring.
Mm-hmm.
I think the big thing comes down to, are the Grizzlies going to get Junior Bergen back?
Mm-hmm.
And that Cole Grossman, their tight end, is he going to play? Without those two guys, I just don't see that offense being good enough, regardless of the quarterback play.
Yeah.
So I'm probably going to take North Dakota here for kind of an upset win.
Yeah.
Also,
I would see it being that way, especially since they're playing in Grand Forks. The Grizz on the road have, at least in the last few years, not played super great. I mean, we all remember Northern Arizona last year, and games like that. But especially with how banged up the team is, like you just mentioned, it seems like the kind of game where North Dakota would almost be a favorite.
And for a fact, those boys in Grand Forks are going to pack that stadium. It's going to be loud.
Oh, yeah. They're going to be ready. And the great thing about Grand Forks is there's a blackjack table in every single bar. So, they hit the blackjack table for a few hours, then head to the game. 5 p.m. kickoff, that's perfect. That's perfect.
So, we're unanimous. We're going, let's go North Dakota.
Going North
Come
Dakota.
on, boys.
Yeah, 2 for 2.
Make my day.
Yeah. Next up, we got Cal Poly and Stanford. That's what I am.
I think we can just pick Stanford and move on.
Okay, all right. I was going to see if I could come up with some argument for Cal Poly, but I'm having trouble with it. So, yeah, Stanford, huge program. All the talent in the world.
They lost to San Diego last week, Ben.
Yep.
They lost.
They did lose to San Diego.
To the game they were supposed to win.
Yeah, the game that we thought they were supposed to win. They did not pull it off.
Hey, how do you feel about a 5 p.m. kickoff?
Oh, it's pretty good. Pretty good. I mean, all of these games kick off at 5 p.m. And then I thought the Cats game was at 7. Am I in the wrong time zone here?
No, it's at 6.
Okay. So we're not going to have much time to watch any of these solid games. It's going to be a checking the score on the phone situation most of this game, I feel like.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
So are you good with going with Stanford and moving on?
Yeah, I'm fine with it. Let's go Cardinal.
Oh, dude, you're a sellout. You
not
said you're
Cardinals.
going to pick them every week.
Not Cardinals, but Cardinal. And I did not say. I said I was going to pick this next team every week. Not Cal Poly.
Yes,
not Cal Poly. But you know the team I'm riding with, and I'm not even going to speak their name until we start actually talking about them.
All right. I'll turn it over to you. You can get it off your chest.
Next up, we got the battle for Colorado. You may think that this is Coach Prime playing in this game, but no. It is the battling Northern Colorado Bears. My battling Northern Colorado Bears versus Colorado State, who has they're sheep. They're sheeple. They're a bunch of they got horns. They're like a bighorn sheep, but they're still sheeple. I'm not even going to call them a ram. They're not the Rams. They're the sheeple. They're the Colorado State sheeple, and they are going to lose in convincing fashion to Northern Colorado and the Battling Bears.
I just had to hear you say it. That you were going to pick Northern Colorado to upset an FBS team.
Easily.
Okay, I'm going to take the other side, the logical side.
Oh, are you kidding me?
Colorado State. The sheeple. I'm rolling with the sheeple.
Eric, these colors don't run. I can tell you that right now. Got blue and gold right behind me. Blue and gold for the Northern Colorado Bears. Not running away from it. Not as scared of a bunch of sheeple.
Well, should we get back to reality now, Ben?
Yeah, we might as well. Okay, we can kick back to reality. Colorado State is a really good team. I mean, we saw them almost beat Coach Prime's team last year. In one of the most exciting college football games of last season, I have to say.
Yeah, man, that we were in. I don't even want to tell people where we were.
We were behind enemy lines for that game.
We were, and we're gonna blame that on a friend getting married.
Yeah.
So,
The only reason we would ever go behind enemy lines.
Yes. Yes. Anyway, the next one we have is Eastern Washington versus Drake.
I think Drake was a playoff team last year, right? There was the Battle of the Bulldogs, I want to say.
Yeah, maybe.
I think there was 2 different teams that were Bulldogs in the playoffs last year. And they both played against each other, and one of them was Drake. And I
Drake
made a
is the
bunch of
Bulldog,
really
yes.
bad jokes about Drake the rapper. It's firmly in my memory.
Yeah, no, you're right. Unfortunately for Drake, they're still a Pioneer League school.
Yeah.
And Eastern Washington is probably, I would guess, going to smoke them.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. It was Butler and Drake that played against each other last year. And then they got destroyed by NDSU.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, by
Yeah.
60-some points or something.
66-3. They
Yeah,
got
60
absolutely
60.
clobbered.
Yeah. I mean, Eastern Washington probably isn't going to drop 60 points on these guys, but I would sure imagine Eastern Washington's going to beat them fairly handily.
Just based on how they played last week, and you talked a lot about how strong they looked and how strong Efton Chisholm looked last week. So I could see Eastern Washington pulling off this game. But it's also another one of those games where it's interesting to watch because we are talking about another playoff team. And Eastern Washington was not a playoff team last year. My instinct would be to go with Eastern Washington as well. But I'm also excited to see how that game pans out because I think it's going to say a lot about the strength of the Big Sky versus the strength of these other conferences and the teams they put in the playoffs.
Yeah, definitely. No, I think you're exactly right. We'll see, a playoff team versus a non-playoff team, but does that really matter in the difference in conferences? I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
But I do think that Eastern Washington's probably gonna beat these guys.
And it's a much different Eastern Washington team than last year, so it's kind of hard to even compare it.
Yeah, it's definitely, I think, a better, maybe not a lot better, but definitely better Eastern Washington team. Yeah. And now we have our first conference game of the season.
This is exciting.
First one.
Yeah.
Portland State at Weber State.
Yeah. This is kind of a tough one to pick just because the performances that we saw last week from both these teams they didn't give us a lot to grasp onto.
No,
to form
not
an
at all.
opinion,
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Weber State is significantly better than Portland State, but Weber State got beat up, bad last week. I mean, it was an epic blowout for was it Washington State, I think.
Yep.
So I'm pretty sure Weber State can handle Portland State, but my guess is that Portland State can probably hang with them for a while.
It's going to depend on the defense of Weber State in this game. Because if Portland State's offense can put some points up, then I feel like it's going to be a close game. But if Weber State starts shutting them down on offense, then Weber State's probably going to run away with it.
Yeah. Well, who's your pick?
I'm going to go with... I got to go Weber State. I got to.
With what?
I got to go with Weber State in this one.
Yeah,
I just have a feeling that Portland State's going to play pretty well in this game, but at the same time, I feel like the Weber State team that we saw last year was always they play terribly against really good teams. And then when they're against similar competition, they outperform.
Yeah, that's fair. That's definitely fair. I think I'm in the same boat as you. I'm going to pick Weber State, but I think it's going to be closer than people think.
Yeah, it could be. It could be a pretty solid game to watch. Kicking
Our
off
boy
at the
Dante
same time as
Chachere's
Gold
going to
Rush.
have
So,
himself a game.
oh yeah, that's what we're all cheering for here. Sachere.
Chachere.
Yeah.
Next, we have Northern Arizona at Arizona, the number 20th ranked FBS team in the country.
Yeah. I think this is another one that we can almost chalk up and just go past. I just want to check really quick. Oh, yeah. I wanted to check Arizona's final score for last week when they played against New Mexico, and it got away from the Lobos last week after that first half where they were playing even with them. So
Yeah, they ended up getting, what was it, a 20-point loss?
yeah, I think it was 63-39. So 24-point loss, pretty big one.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure Northern Arizona is going to lose by at least 20 points.
Yeah, but if not a whole lot more, I couldn't see this game being very close at all.
Nope. Different levels of competition there.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Next up, we have Sac State playing another FBS team.
Mm-hmm.
Another Mountain West team.
Yeah.
Fresno State.
Mm-hmm. Just looking back at how they played last week, Fresno State played against Michigan and lost 30-10.
That's some stiff competition. That's actually not terrible, really.
Losing by 20 points to the number 9 team in the country, they must be a solid squad at least.
The defending national champion team.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a terrible final score. I mean, I guess there's some positives in that.
Yeah.
We've watched Sac State, and unless they get extra lucky, I just don't see it.
Yeah.
Don't see it. They don't have the quarterback play. Their defense is exactly what we were thinking it was probably going to be.
Yep.
I'm gonna guess Sac State probably hangs with them again till halftime, and Fresno State comes out and kicks their butt in the second half.
I mean, the big thing you have to remember about Fresno State playing against Michigan is Michigan no longer has their MVP Connor Stallions. So that may have affected the score in some way. No, I'm kidding. Fresno State's going to win this game. They after playing against Michigan, you're not going to lose to a team like Sac State, especially when they didn't look very promising last week at all.
Yeah, and you get Sac State at home. I'm guessing they traveled to Michigan.
Yeah.
That has to be a much better environment than going to Michigan to play at home. So I don't see it from Sac State. Fresno State's gonna. I'm guessing by the end, it's probably a 20-point win.
Do you think that Fresno State still has a Carr brother playing quarterback for him?
I mean, it kind of seems like that's where they go.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if they have kids playing there now.
Yeah. It could be it. Could be it.
And next we have. Now I gotta look this team up. Texas A&M Commerce.
Yeah. Looks like the
at
Lions.
UC Davis.
Yeah.
And Texas A&M Commerce got smoked last week by. I don't know who that is.
San Diego State.
San Diego State, yeah. Yeah, they got beat real bad.
Yeah. They got beat pretty bad by San Diego State. Looks like they are in
Southland.
Yeah, Southland Conference. They end their season with Incarnate Word. Other than that, Stephen F. Austin, that's a name we've seen before. Lamar, we see that every once in a while. They're playing UC Davis and Sac State throughout this year. The Texas A&M Commerce Lions.
I mean, I'm fairly confident that UC Davis is gonna beat these guys pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still not sold on their quarterback, but they have Lan Larison, and if you have Lan Larison, you have a chance.
Mm-hmm. And it seemed like last week their running back play was pretty good.
It was
Sorry,
good.
everybody.
They had really good running back play, and honestly, they just missed Lan Larison in the passing game. I mean, he was open a lot, and they just weren't hitting him, which I'm sure they're probably going to correct that this week. And UC Davis is going to roll, I'm sure.
Yeah, I could definitely see that being the case.
I don't think Texas A&M Commerce has the running gear to land with or to run with UC Davis.
Way too many letters in that name. You can't be a good team if you have that many letters in your name.
Yeah, you're definitely right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What does A&M
Davis.
stand for? Agriculture and military?
Mechanics, I think.
Agriculture and mechanics. Oh, I'm just thinking of like Texas A&M where they have a lot of ROTC people. Yeah.
Well, it could be. I could be wrong.
No, I think you're right on it. So you got Texas agriculture and mechanics - commerce. It's way too many letters.
Yeah. Sorry, Texas A&M Commerce. We just don't like you because you have too many letters.
Yep, too many letters. I can't read that much.
Imagine trying to Google that school all the time.
I mean, I already called Oregon State, Oklahoma State during this podcast. So if you expect me to read that many words for one team name, it's going to be a problem.
Yeah. And our final game of this weekend.
The most important game of this weekend.
About.
By far.
is Maine at your Montana State Bobcats. Let's go.
Let's go. Gold Rush weekend. Jersey's right here behind me. I'm ready to go. You're ready to go. It's going to be an exciting time.
The Rohan Jones come to party game.
Yeah. The Rohan Jones, I don't even know if you can call it a revenge game, but
yeah,
Rohan Jones is going to be dancing not only on the sideline, but I have a feeling he's going to be dancing on the end zone.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I would be so pissed if he doesn't have a touchdown in this game.
Yeah, I think it's going to happen. I don't know. What you listen to the press conferences, you have an idea about the players. How do you feel about Maine in general?
So, Maine played Colgate last week and won a really tight 17-14 game over Colgate.
Okay.
And Colgate isn't anything to really write home about. I mean, they had a decent season last year, but the only game on their entire schedule that really, caught my eye was Incarnate Word, and they got smoked. Bad. Yeah. So, I mean, not Incarnate Word, it was Holy Cross.
Oh, okay.
And Holy Cross beat them 47-17 or something like that.
Yeah.
So it wasn't. They're not that. Colgate isn't that good, I guess.
Yeah.
And listening to the press conference, it sounded like Maine had a lot of things to clean up, a lot of missed tackles, a couple turnovers, but their defense is what kind of saved them. Yeah. It looked like the Colgate had a 7-minute drive that they ended up having to punt on.
Oh, okay.
So, and then they sealed the game by picking off Colgate's quarterback. So they do have what sounds like a decent defense. They never once mentioned the offense in that.
Yeah.
Other than the quarterback briefly in that press conference.
Yeah.
That Carson Peavy, who's a transfer from Mercer.
Oh, okay.
They brought him up a little bit, but the coach said that on plays that kind of broke down, he was able to, make some positive yards out of it. Mm-hmm. But then I looked at his statistics from the game, and he had 8 rushes for -8 yards and a touchdown. So that doesn't really sound like making much out of broken plays to me.
Yeah.
So, I
I
mean,
mean,
the press conference, it also touched a bit on them coming to Montana State and how they were, planning to prep for the number 3 team in the country and having to.
yep.
They were a bit worried about elevation, so they were working on staying extra hydrated. So,
Hmm.
uh, they didn't get a ton out of their press conference, but it was a tight win against a pretty subpar team
Yeah.
last week.
Um.
They did the only thing that really stands out is they have a wide receiver. His last name's Moss. Had a pretty nice game for him, so he's somebody to watch for. Is that Moss?
Okay. So on the outside, we're watching out for Moss. That quarterback's name, that was Carter Peavy, you said, right?
Yeah,
Okay. Carter Peavy was a transfer from Mercer. This is all information that Eric got for me before the podcast. So thank you, Eric. Um, he was a sort of dual threat quarterback. He rushed for 324 yards on the entire season. So for Bobcat standards, that's absolutely nothing. That's what we do in a single game. And he averaged 175 yards through the air. So not great either way. Kind of a half a threat on each side. He might be a single threat quarterback if you combine the two. Looking at the last 5 games for Maine, I know it's looking back to last year, and you got to take it with a grain of salt, but they gave up a lot of points every single game. So the fact that they didn't give up that many points against Colgate means they must have revamped this defense quite a bit.
and honestly, they lost their best player, if not one of he was a top 5 player for them in Rohan Jones.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure. Just seeing him for these first couple games. And I know it matters the team that you're playing with and your teammates and the pieces that are around you, but he must have been a stud for Maine.
Yeah, yeah. Basically, I listened to the entire press conference and came away with they have things to work on. They lost a couple guys to injury. I just wasn't very inspired. I'm still convinced this is going to be a blowout.
Yeah. I would not be surprised in any way, shape, or form if it was a blowout. And obviously, I will be cheering for a blowout. And there's nothing I've seen or heard from you or heard from anybody else that makes me think that Maine is going to be any kind of real challenge.
No. And honestly, Colgate rushed for well over 100 yards against him.
Yeah.
What is Humphrey and Adam Jones going to do?
It's going to be ugly.
Yeah. I don't see. Yeah, I don't know. I don't see a lot of positives for Maine coming into this game. They did say they had one punt that they were able to stop inside the 10-yard line. So something that our punter does on the rare chances he gets an opportunity every time, they were able to do one time.
Yeah. I mean, he's inside the 10-yard line, 80% of the time right now?
Yeah. Yep, pretty much.
So, yeah, it doesn't really compare there. Special teams were better. Offensively, we're better. Defensively, we're better. It's pretty much as simple as that this week.
I'm sure Maine's going to come in with a good game plan, and they're going to try really hard. I just don't see how they can, kind of stop what we have going.
Yeah.
No one, New Mexico couldn't stop our rushing game. How can Maine?
Yeah. I don't see it necessarily happening. Just looking at the stat lines for their season leaders right now, there's not a lot of production. That Moss that you mentioned, so far this year he has 5 catches for 84 yards. It's a pretty good game.
That's what he did last week.
That's a pretty good game, but it's not super impressive.
No, it's not. So, I guess looking at this game, we talked a little bit last weekend or this last weekend about what we kind of wanted to see, and I think I'm going to stick with that. I would like to see a big lead early, and then let Jordan Reed have, if he could have the second half, that'd be cool. I
It would
would
be
really
amazing.
like to see what he has
Yeah.
instead of just running, handing the ball off every time.
Mm-hmm.
Let him get some time, because I think that's probably what this game is going to be. I hate to talk too terrible about Maine, but they just don't inspire much confidence. So.
Yeah, they were a 2-9 team last year. It's very much one of those games where we understand why it's scheduled, and it's pretty on par for Gold Rush. They're usually not set up to be the toughest games for the Cats.
No, and it's going to be a great home opener.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like tickets sold out almost immediately.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be packed in there. I wish it wasn't going to be quite so hot. It's supposed to be 90 degrees in Bozeman on Saturday, so the Bobcats maybe hoping for a cooler game probably aren't going to get that. So.
Yeah, not going to be in the cards for this one. The sun will be out. Summer will still be going on. I'm going to be enjoying this hot weather while we still have it, because I understand that it could be gone any second. We could go from 88 degrees to negative 40 real quick, and I'm not ready for that.
Yeah, I don't think the players want negative 40 either, so.
No.
Watch out for those cramps, though.
Yeah, watch out. Yeah, it was a major problem in that last game, and I don't know if that was fatigue and people just going down to get a break, but it was happening on both sides. And when I want the game to be over and it's 11 o'clock at night, I get pretty annoyed by it.
I think the biggest thing is, they're coming back from New Mexico, where it was just a slugfest of a game. Everybody left it all on the field. It was hot as heck. There wasn't too much cramping in that game, and then you go and do the same thing over again in the same kind of heat.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't surprise me too much that there were some cramping issues. That would be tough to do. I can't imagine what it felt like on the field, just knowing it was 95, 98 degrees just in the stands.
Yeah. It would definitely be a tough one to play in, but I'm looking forward to this weekend. Looking forward to getting to Bozeman. It feels like it's been a year since we were there last, and it really hasn't been. It hasn't been that long, but it feels like it's been a very long time since we were in Bozeman.
Yeah, I'm pumped. I can't wait to see shotgun beers for turnovers.
Yeah. Yep, we will see how that goes. We'll see how the shotgunning of beers goes for turnovers. I agreed to it already, so I've kind of backed myself into a hole. Sunday morning of Labor Day weekend, I shouldn't be allowed to make decisions for myself, but I've already made it, and I'm a man of my word. I will always pick the Northern Colorado Bears, and I will shotgun a beer for every turnover that the Cats get during this game.
That's what I like to hear.
Bright ass gold jersey that's behind me, if anybody's looking for me.
Yeah. As far as injury news, everything sounds pretty manageable.
Yep.
The 2 deep looks exactly the same as it did last week. Looks like everybody that we were a little concerned about is going to be just fine. Unless maybe there's a last minute scratch, but according to the 2 deep, we're not going to be missing anybody. Tommy was just super cramped up. Connor Moore didn't ever hear exactly what he did, but sounded like wasn't too serious, and never did hear anything on Bryce Grebe, but he is listed as the backup on the 2 deep, so he must be all right. And then Simeon Woodard sounds like he was listed as the starter, so
okay.
I think he's all right. I did see a video of him at a rodeo out in the ground, like out in the middle of a rodeo. So
yeah,
must have been featured.
Yeah. As far as injuries went during Vegan's press conference, it was pretty much the same guys that have been out are going to continue to be out. It was no new news, basically. Nobody out that we weren't expecting, just the same dudes like Justice and Julius and stuff like that. Still remaining out for this game, which keep them out as long as they need in order to be healthy, because things are going great for this team right now. And the more reps that the deeper parts of this roster can get, the better it's going to be when it comes to late in the season, playoff time, when you're not guaranteed to always have those starters all the time.
Right. Yeah. And, I mean, we've talked about it before. You know, we have, I don't want to call it an easy schedule, but, you know, now that we got through New Mexico, you had Utah Tech, Maine, and we got a bye. And then Mercyhurst and Northern Colorado. I mean, we do have time for these guys to get super healthy.
Yeah.
Like, they've got a lot of time to really recover before we have a real test. Because I mean, I don't have the schedule in front of me, but I think it goes Northern Colorado, Idaho State, then Idaho. Is that sound right to you?
It does sound correct.
So, you know, if they have to sit out all the way through Northern Colorado, I mean, more power to them. That just means they're going to be 100% fresh to go.
Yeah. Just one change to what you were saying. After Mercyhurst, it's Idaho State, then Northern Colorado, then Idaho. So,
okay,
just slight correction.
So,
you know,
Idaho State, you know, now hearing that, I mean, they could be a little something, but I still think this team is more than capable of handily beating Idaho State. So really, that just adds another week with Northern Colorado after them for these guys to get totally healthy.
Yeah. It seems like a time where we can take our time with injuries, make sure everybody's fully healthy and ready to go when the meat and potatoes of this season happens.
Yeah. We have a really tough second half of the season. And, you know, if we can get guys like Julius Davis and Justice Perkins and Drew Polidor 100% healthy, I mean, this squad's going to be so scary when those guys are good to go.
Oh yeah, it's going to be insane.
And like you said, all they're going to get, everyone who backs them up is just getting reps.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the best way to grow.
They're getting more experience. They are learning how to operate in games. It's just going to make them more ready if they have to step up in a big moment later on in the season. Yeah. Do you have a prediction on the score? Score prediction for Maine versus Montana State. Let's see. How crazy do I want to get this week? On a scale from 1 to 10, how crazy do you think I'm going to get?
I mean, I kind of want to see you shotgun a couple beers, so I'm gonna say you're gonna go an 8. Beer.
I'm an 8. An 8 crazy puts us at a score of 56 to 10.
I love it.
That's what an 8 is.
I love that score.
Yeah.
That's like it's so stress. If that happens, that's just so stress free, and all we're doing is having fun.
We just get to sit at the game and not worry about anything. Just worry about how many beers I have to shotgun.
That's exactly what I want. I'm looking up the spread, and the Grizzly spread just popped up in front of me. So the Grizzlies are favored, -200 on the money line.
Okay.
+155 for UND.
All right.
That's not bad.
What's the point spread like?
Point spread is 4.5.
Huh. That checks out with the way we were talking about the game. Pretty easily. Not a crazy spread. Basically a touchdown spread.
Over under 52.5. I mean, North Dakota +155. that is not a terrible bet.
Mm. It may be
If
making
you really,
the rotations on
wanted
Saturday. You know, I might have to chuck in a flyer when we post our bets on Saturday.
So if Ben's score is correct, the point spread for the Cat game will hit handily.
What's the spread?
But we are still minus 28.5-point favorites.
Oh, okay. I bet minus
So,
28.5 last week, and it didn't work out for me. So let's see. Let's see how it goes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a lot of points to spot somebody.
Oh, yeah.
A lot.
It's a ton.
Especially in a game where we're already talking about seeing what Jordan Reed has to offer.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, if the game stays in that 28-point range, we've already seen that the coaches aren't really into pulling the players off the field until it gets over 30. So
yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess we'll you might have to get a beer or two into me before I put any money on those spreads.
I mean, it's fool me once, shame on me, fool me twice kind of a situation, you know.
I typically put my money where my mouth is, so probably going to be taking the 28.5 points.
Yeah. Should we talk a little bit about the shakeup in the rankings that we predicted?
I think we should, man.
Yeah.
Well, you predicted.
I mean, this is a team here, so. I mean, when I make a prediction, you made the prediction as well. We're a team.
I wholeheartedly believe the top four would not change.
Yeah.
I didn't think that they would change it. In all honesty, they usually don't.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so shocked to see the Cats jump.
Yeah.
The Grizzlies.
We're back where we belong.
Yeah.
At long last.
It's pretty impressive. And boy, you know, if the Grizzlies can't take care of North Dakota,
mm-hmm.
I could see that. And you know, if this is how they're going to do the rankings, I could see them dropping a couple spots.
Oh yeah, it would
especially
be
if Idaho
tough.
keeps it close or beats Wyoming.
Yeah, I don't know who Villanova's playing this week. Then the next one is down.
They don't have much on the schedule.
Okay.
Their schedule is really, really soft. I mean, their conference sucks.
Yeah. Then
their
it's South
hardest
Dakota
game of the
and
year
Idaho.
was the first one.
Yeah. Then it's South Dakota and Idaho right behind them, kind of pulling. I mean, it's all the same names as last year, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty similar top, but yeah, I was really surprised that Montana State jumped. I mean, they deserved the spot, no doubt.
Mm-hmm.
But they haven't generally shown an affinity to really moving people unless they lose.
Yeah. And
it just goes to show you kind of got to the games that you're supposed to beat people by a lot, you kind of got to do it.
Yeah. There was quite a bit of shakeup looking through the rest of the list. I mean, I know we mainly care about the top four. And super excited to see Montana State get that number 3 spot. I was talking about it, but I was not super confident that it was actually going to happen. But there was a lot of shakeup in this thing. Central Arkansas is now number 9, and previously they were 13, and they lost. So something about the way Central Arkansas played in that loss moved them up 4 spots.
Yeah, that's impressive. That's a substantial jump.
Yeah. Incarnate Word went from 15 to 11. They also jumped 4 spots. There's been some significant ones. There was a lot of movement.
Where is Sac State, UC Davis at?
Sac State is 8th, and UC Davis is 18th.
8th is generous for Sac State.
Yeah, and they moved up 2 spots to 8th. So I don't know. I mean, it's early season rankings. What can you really gauge from it? You know?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not surprised to see the top two not change.
Yeah.
I mean, South Dakota State they got beat pretty bad by Oklahoma State, but we all kind of expected that. I mean, Oklahoma State is a legit team.
Yep.
North Dakota State played Colorado real close, but Colorado isn't Oklahoma State. So, and I know they don't put a lot of weight on those FBS losses.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like South Dakota State deserves number one until they lose.
Yep.
Within the FCS.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah, I am over the moon to see the Cats jump the Grizzlies.
Yeah.
Poor Grizzlies.
Who's the team that's not getting any love on these rankings is North Dakota, UND. They are ranked 20th in the coaches poll and 23rd in the stat perform poll. They are not getting a lot of love from anybody except for the Cats pod, apparently.
Did they move?
They moved up one spot from 24 to 23 in stat perform, and then they moved from 22 to 20 in coaches poll.
See, I don't understand. I'm not understanding how it works really. I mean, I feel like their loss was still quality to Iowa State.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 21-3 that's not even close to a blowout.
Yeah.
I mean, they limited a pretty good team to 21 points and still managed to not get shut out.
Mm-hmm.
So, I guess I feel like I guess we're the only ones that giving any love to UND.
We might look very smart this weekend then, or very stupid. That's kind of the way this thing goes.
I mean, let's be honest. It could have been any team when we were going to pick them against the Grizzlies.
Yeah, that is true. We picked Missouri State last week, and we didn't look very stupid on that.
Nope.
We looked fairly smart.
Nope. And for anybody that didn't listen to me when I told you to hammer that point spread for Missouri State, I told you so.
It's on you. It's on you now. All right, should we wrap this bad boy up, tie a bow on it, and get ready to head to Bozeman?
Oh, man, I can't wait. I am so excited to put my Gold Rush shirt on and drink some brewskis with all the friends and enjoy what I really hope is a stress-free win.
Mm-hmm. I think it's going to be a great time. Just heading to a Cat game again is always a great time. It's a great feeling when the first game of the year happens in Bozeman.
Oh, yeah. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing.
All right. As always, thanks everybody for listening. Go ahead and rank this 5 stars wherever you're listening to it at. Follow us on Instagram and X at CatsPod. Once again, as always, we really appreciate anybody who listened to the show and enjoys it. And we will see you in Bozeman on Saturday.
Adios.